everyone. Welcome to our finale in our author Lenten series. My name's Glenys Nellist, and I'm coming to you from Dearborn First United Methodist Church. And I shouldn't say that we saved the best for last, but you're just going to love our author, illustrator today. Roger Hutchison. I'm going to read his bio in a minute, but it's really exciting because he is the first author illustrator that we've had visit us. So illustrating is definitely not a gift that I have, but it's just amazing and wonderful when you have both the gift of writing and illustrating. So we are thrilled to welcome Roger Hutchison today, and I'm going to begin by reading his bio. Roger Hutchison is the Director of Christian Formation and Parish Life at Palmer Memorial Episcopal Church in Houston, an artist who paints with children and adults in a variety of contexts. He is the author of several books, including The Very Best Day and Faces, a love story. And what I want to tell you before Roger chats to us about this is you just have to buy this book. It's just, it's wonderful. And I know he's going to read a little excerpt for us. It's a brilliant book. It's just amazing. Wait till you see inside. So right now, order this book. It's available wherever good books are sold, and Barnes and Noble, which is really exciting for an author when you get your book in Barnes and Noble. So if you don't want to support Amazon, go to Barnes and Noble. Anyway, so I'm really excited to hear about this book in a second. It is Roger's ambition to use art, color, and poetic language to communicate love and promote healing and hope in today's hurting world. That's so awesome. Roger lives with his family outside of Houston, Texas. So again, Roger, welcome today to our little author series. We're thrilled to have you. And so we know that you are the author of several books, and not just for children. Right. But will you begin, Roger, just by telling us a little bit about Faces, a love story, like what inspired it, and give us a peek at the awesome illustrations.
Sure. Well, I want to say thank you, Glenys, for the invitation and for you all joining in today. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. I'm sure you hear my Southern accent, coming from down south. Faces, a Love Story came out in December and actually sold out before the release date, which blew my mind. And then was re-released in February, which was fantastic. And this is my first book that was picked up by Barnes and Noble or somewhere like that, which was really special, very exciting. So I work with people. I'm a people person, in my role here at Palmer, and my wife is a school teacher. I'm very outgoing. And then all of a sudden we had to be at home. And so I am introverted, and so I did enjoy it for a while. And then for a little while, I decided, I really missed people's faces. I missed people's smiles. It was also in the midst of some crazy political things in life, and just all of the above, and how we talk to each other, and how we don't listen well to each other, and how we always sort of say the other. And so I decided to take notice of the people walking by my house. So I stayed in my garage. I worked in my garage. I still work there. I'm really not in the office. And so I would see people walk by, and they would have their masks on. And for the first time, I was sort of forced to look into people's eyes and say hello and greet each other. We greeted each other in new ways where we would often rely on smiles. And so I thought I wanted to paint these faces. And so I decided to start painting faces that I saw. They are childlike in the way that I did it. Part of that is the reason I think we're all perfectly imperfect. And that's what I wanted to sort of convey with this story. And really what the story is a love story. And it's a love story from the creator to the created. And so that's really what this is. It's a, designed like a children's book, but it really is a book for all ages. Adults especially really do enjoy this. And so, yeah, it just was an amazing thing. And really the idea started before quarantine began. I was already feeling that we were separated. We're more connected than we've ever been, yet we're more disconnected or less connected than we've ever been, and so that was my attempt. When you get into somebody's face and you're painting somebody's face, that's very intimate. And that was really a powerful experience for me. So yeah, that's where that came from.
And so, Roger, what's your favorite page? Like, if you were to read a little excerpt for us, because wait, I'll show you one that I love. I bet you're not going to show.
I was going to ask you, I'm able to share. I have it where I could share a little bit of it if you wanted to see it. That may not work, but I can do that.
Oh, you mean to share your screen?
Can I do that?
Yeah, and Kirsten, as our host, she should be able to allow you to do that, of course. Yeah, but hang on though, let me just show you this part.
Okay.
Look.
I wonder why that's your favorite. that's my face in there.
Right, that's Roger's face. I think it's awesome that you put yourself in there, and I'm kind of interested. It would be great to peek inside and share your screen, but I'm kind of interested. Like, you had to get the people's permission, right, to have their faces in the book.
So those faces actually, there's only one that is a real person. And so the other faces are faces that I just kind of created from faces around me.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so normally, yes. And the one of the woman with the red glasses is one of my favorite people in the world. And she is so thrilled that she is in this book. And so yeah, I'm going to, but I would love to show just a couple of pages if I may.
Of course.
Let me open this up real quick. And here we go. Let me get it over here where you can see it. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So let me just make this large. Here we go. So this is the cover of the book, and through my friend Glenys and some others, I had the wonderful opportunity of connecting with Matthew Paul Turner, and he gave an incredible endorsement to the story. So here goes. I'm gonna show you a little bit. I think of special note is that we've lost so much. We've all lost so much during this time, and we've gained a lot too. But in this book, I dedicated it to Atticus, Amelia, and Tennyson. Can you tell their mom is a writer? But Atticus, Amelia, and Tennyson, their dad, who was my very good friend, Sean, passed away at age 42 this past year, and in the midst of all of this. So I made the decision to offer this up in his memory for his children.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to read just 2 or 3 pages just to get us started. I am the painter of stories and dreams. I am the artist of all that is of you. I paint mahogany lips and warm honey skin, turquoise iris and chestnut hair, umber freckles and espresso brows, alabaster smile and olive dimples. My palette is filled with the colors of water and sky, colors of me, colors of you, colors of us. I gaze at your face from a distance, but also from very close. Know that I long to be close to you. We are separated by all of our assumptions, preconceptions, misunderstandings, even a pandemic of fear. So much mistrust. Yet I know there is a longing in your hearts and souls to touch, to know, to walk with each other. We brush against each other. Our laugh fills the space around us, held aloft by a warm spring breeze. Well, I'll stop there. I could keep going, but let me show you a couple of the faces real quick. So here's some of the, so I decided to go through and just do different faces of that I would see. And this, I am the artist who has painted all our faces, every face that you see, faces you see on the street, faces of those you look up to, faces that perhaps you have turned away from for any number of reasons, faces that you remember from the past. Every face shows me in one way or another, faces that you may be afraid of because you have forgotten how to trust. We forget. It is time to face our fears.
Oh my gosh, it just gives me goosebumps. Yeah, it's a good place to stop, because then like people want more. So see, everybody, you just have to go and buy the book, because it's kind of a circle book, you know. It begins with God the artist painting the palette, and it comes right back to God in the end. And so it is so beautiful, Roger.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So we have a couple of questions in the chat here, and
okay.
The first one I'm going to come to is actually one that was on my list. So I'm not taking them in order. So Catherine, I haven't forgotten yours, but we'll come back to that. So as an author illustrator, what comes first? You know, is it the words, the pictures, or both equally? What, like for this book, what was the first? I guess the images, right?
The images, the paintings came first with this specific book. Part of it was I just needed, I needed to be surrounded by people, and so I felt a little kind of strange, you know, that I'm sitting there painting friends that would hang out with me in my studio. So I would paint the pictures and hang them in the garage, and it was really fun. And what began to happen, people would see them as I was sitting in the garage. They could see the artwork. And so for the first time in 5 years of living in this house, we got to know our neighbors because of the artwork hanging on the walls. That was really special. Yeah.
Oh, how wonderful and special.
Yeah.
Oh,
really special.
So you had those paintings hanging in your garage, and then like, was there a point where you thought, I'm going to make this into a book like this, or did somebody suggest that to you, or like how did the words come?
So I tend to write a little bit, maybe like a poet. I love poetry, and I think my work, almost all of my work, tends to have kind of that poetic feel. And so I think I had a journal where I keep where I write, and I had written some words, and I love to get to know our creator in ways that we often I just needed a fresh new way to think about creation, and by looking into my siblings' faces, it's a powerful thing. And so I loved, you know, I would write little words or a phrase, or and then I just, where our house sits, there's water nearby, and I always can see the sky and the water, and those are just the most amazing colors to try to capture, and so in that is where I see the creator. And that's kind of where that came from. Jotted down some ideas in my journal, and then it began to come together. A little secret I did when I first proposed this book, I proposed it as just pictures, no text. Okay. And so what I wanted to do is have it be where you just saw the faces, and then that way, whatever conversation came up around the faces, that was the purpose of the book. But it didn't feel like it was finished at that point. So then that's when I began to combine the words and the art.
Wow. So, yeah. Fascinating process. Yeah. So Debbie wants to know, were you a painter first then? What kind of art training do you have? And she says, I love how you paint in different styles.
Right. So I am self-taught. I have always been creative, artistic. I was not a sporty kind of person, you know, athletics and all of that. I was kind of the quiet artist, writer type. I was writing poetry when I was just a little kid, and I always had a dream of writing a book. I wanted to write a book, And but the paintings came first. I remember, I guess when I was 13, I won an art show that I entered into for school, and it was such a strange image because I was 13, and in the picture I painted creation, and I included the picture of a fetus, of a baby being formed. And that's not your typical 13-year-old boy image of trying to paint. And so I think it kind of blew their socks off that somebody 13 even was thinking in that way. And so my whole idea was sort of creation and umbilical cord and all of that. And so that's kind of where my brain was and kind of always is. So that's how that started.
Wow. And you won that competition, you said.
I did.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
basically I had the roots of a tree growing, and then also a baby with an umbilical cord that was kind of going up to heaven. So it was just a really interesting, I don't know what I was doing and how it came to me, but
Wow.
my dad is an Episcopal priest. So the church has always been a part of my my life. So.
Wow. And how wonderful that God gave you both those gifts to write and to paint, to be an artist, and you brought them together. It's just wonderful to see. All right, so we have tuning in today all the way from the UK.
Oh, wow.
We have a wannabe author illustrator. Her name's Catherine, and she wants to know, do you have an agent? What advice do you have for her?
Great question. And I do not have an agent. And I have been working, my first book came out in 2013, and it's not for a lack of trying. Part of what's really interesting, I haven't pursued an agent until really during quarantine, is when I did that. But I think everybody is pursuing an agent right now. I mean, I think there are an incredible number and an increase of people writing, which is wonderful. But that industry is an interesting industry in itself. And so, no, I don't have an agent, but what I do is I love to make connections, and I love to make friends in the writing world. And I have attended some conferences and writing classes, and those have been just so instrumental in the success that I'm finding with my books and through social media presence and all of that. So it's really all about, for me, it has been all about making relationships, making friendships, and connecting with people. And I have said to Glenys several times that she is like the fairy godmother of writers in this kind of world. And she just cheers me on and has encouraged me. And she does that with so many others. And I'm just forever grateful. But it is really, we write for an interesting kind of niche audience also. So these books, being faith-based, can limit the audience in some way, whether a book like this can be read in a school setting or not, it just depends. And so that's part of the limit of getting an agent, because there are not a lot of them out there that do just this kind of work. So I don't know if that's helpful, except to say that you can do it without an agent. So this is book number 7 for me. And Glenys, you don't have an agent, do you?
I don't.
No. And
So
Glenys has 150 books or something like that, I think.
Oh, you're too kind. But no, I think that is great for Catherine to know that you can become a published children's author without an agent. You can, and it's not easy, but definitely the advice to make connections and those conferences, because that's what got me in, was attending a writers conference. And probably the same for you, Roger. When your first book, did you attend a conference, and that's how you got your foot in the door?
So my first book, it was called The Painting Table, and I was at a Christian education conference, and Sandy Eisenberg Sasso, who you may be familiar with, Rabbi Sandy Sasso, is a children's author. And so we had a Jewish rabbi who was the keynoter for our Christian Education Conference, which was fantastic. She inspired me in hearing her speak. I wrote something down. There was an editor and publisher present for this conference. I said, may I let you look over this? And I thought it might just go as a blog post or something like that. And it became a book. So it's sort of, in the right time, right place. But being open to being willing to advocate for yourself and advocate for, for your words and be able to say why your words are important now and maybe 3 years down the road when the book gets published. So, that's
right. Yeah, that is all good advice. And something I would just add, I mean, I know that you said that the conference where you managed to get your foot in the door, that was at your own church, right? It was
this was at a conference center at a
that
conference
you attended.
That I was actually a presenter. I was doing a workshop, and but it was people from all over the United States, and so they had some presenters there who were publishers and of books, curriculum and things like that. So that was my first, and that was church publishing. And church publishing is through the Episcopal Church. And so that's who gave me my first chance. And so my first opportunity. And they have actually published 5 of my 7 books. So 4 of my 7 books. So
wow, yeah. So Catherine, I would just add to what Roger's saying. I always have this little mantra. It's like, put yourself in the place of possibility.
Yes.
Because you just don't know where the doors will open for you. So, yeah.
That's
and
right.
Catherine signed up for the May conference that
Roger
fantastic. Roger and I met online at a children's Christian book conference last year.
Yes.
And Catherine signed up for this one coming up. So that's so
excellent.
good.
Excellent.
So in the chat, probably you can see, but I want to read this couple of comments to you in case you don't, and I want everybody to hear it. But Diane says, what beautiful descriptions in your words. I wish it was made required reading for everyone and helped us all understand how important the concept of loving others really is. And a lady who agrees with her says, I agree with Diane. I'm thinking about buying and sending your book to some members of our US Congress. Yeah, Judy, do that.
Please, yeah.
That would be wonderful. And so Debbie, another children's writer, I believe, is asking about your publishers. So you mentioned that Church Source published 5 of your books, but they're not the publisher of Faces, are they?
No, they're not. So I've been with Church Publishing, and Faces is through Paraclete Press. And Paraclete Press is they're a Catholic publisher, but it's a sort of progressive, and they also have some trade, general audience kind of books. And they've been they do beautiful work. And I did a book on grief called My Favorite Color is Blue Sometimes, and where I took colors and just sort of talked about navigating grief using different colors. And they did such a beautiful job with that book. And then they took this, and I was honored to work with them. They're known for music recordings and other things that they do for the church, but they do also have some beautiful children's books. Yeah,
wonderful. Okay, here's an interesting question from Judy, who wants to know, would you agree, Roger, that the best books are inspired by love?
Well, I think all that we do best is inspired by love. And I believe that, that's what I do. I write out of that place. I paint out of that place. I am an empath. I'm really sensitive, and I feel deeply what's going on in the world around me. And I do believe that when someone writes or sings or whatever creative avenue it is out of love, then it's just profound and powerful. And one of the things I think about children's books is that, you know, the art of writing a good children's book is making every word count. And really, that's what I did a lot. I sort of love the process of this book of taking what I had written and then sort of crafting that in a way where less words, you know, so all of my books are pretty small, small in the sense of not a lot of words, but I think that's important. I think you can get a lot across in few words. But yes, I think love in the Episcopal Church, our whole focus has been, many of you probably know who our presiding bishop is. He's quite well known. It's Michael Curry, who is fantastic. He's an African-American gentleman who did the royal wedding, and he's amazing. But his whole thing has been talking about the way of love, Jesus as the way of love. Right. And so that's what I write out of. Yeah.
Yeah. Roger, that was a beautiful answer to that question.
And
you didn't know it was coming. And I wrote a little quote from you. I wrote it down. All that we do best is inspired by love. That's just perfect. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So, Roger, we are approaching noon, but I, for one, would love to know just a little bit about your other books. Can you stay for a few more minutes?
I can. And I do want to mention one thing that I'll share with you that's really an important part of my journey. Like Glenys said, you have to be open to the unexpected. And I love what Mary Oliver, the poet, says. And she says, you know, make room for the unimaginable. And that's really how I love to sort of live my life. And so in December of 2013, we all experienced the grief and the devastation of the shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. And it devastated me. I was working with a group of children that day in South Carolina, where I lived. Little did I know that in March of that next year, I would be invited to travel to Newtown, Connecticut to paint and be with children who were in Sandy Hook Elementary, who were in the school. And so I got to go to Sandy Hook and paint with these children. And it changed me at a cellular level. That experience, I could not leave without it changing me in the deepest of ways. And so from that moment on, that's what I will share with you, has been such a transformative part of who I am and what I write and why I write what I write. And I'm still friends with those children now, and they're graduating from high school, which is an amazing thing. And what I learned about that community in the process is they don't want to be known by the Sandy Hook shooting. You know, they want to be known as a people who found light in the darkness. And it was really a powerful experience, and I'm still really good friends with them. So that was an important component of my journey. And so out of that came my other books. And so I wrote, like I said, my favorite color is blue sometimes. I will tell you that might be my favorite book out of all of the ones. If I had to pick a favorite, only because I don't know, I just think it hits. The church has not been helpful always with how we grieve. Right. We don't always help people, you know, with how to grieve. And so I've taken that on as something that I'm interested in. I'm not one to say, well, this was meant to be, or God must have needed them better, more than, I mean, come on. That's not helpful. That's just not helpful. So that's what has guided me. So I have the painting table was my first one. I did one called Under the Fig Tree, which is a Lenten devotional. And I did one called My Favorite Color is Blue sometimes. I have one called Jesus, God Among Us, which is another one that I really love so much. It is, the foreword is written by Michael Curry, who's our presiding bishop, which was really exciting. It's a hardcover. It's my only hardcover. Beautiful book, devotional. And then The Way of Love, The Very Best Day, The Way of Love for Children. I did that one. which came out in January of 2020. So I've been pretty busy. So that one came out, and then it was translated into Spanish, and it just came out in Spanish, which is fantastic. And then Faces, and then I have one coming out in 2 weeks called Come In, Come In, and it is not a religious book. It's more of a sort of mainstream book, and I'm super excited about it. It is the first book that I actually have worked with an illustrator other than myself. So that was a new journey for me.
I'm going to ask you one more question, and then I'm just going to.
Oh, sure, I'm good.
You. And if anybody wants to raise their hand, and then I can see you. So,
Aaron, I see Aaron has his hand up.
Oh yeah, okay. Because are you on gallery view? I see.
I am. I'm on gallery view.
Yeah, Aaron. He'll have a great question. So, okay, let's go ahead. Why don't we take Aaron's question then, and then we'll come back to this one that Kirsten wants to know.
Have you do the murder mystery of your book?
No, I don't know of no, I don't have a murder mystery of my book.
No, Aaron, is that what you like to read, murder mysteries?
I like to watch it on TV too.
Oh yeah.
Like Murder, She Wrote. I like that program the best.
Oh, I enjoy that. I enjoy that too.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Aaron, for asking that. Now, Kirsten's just saying she loves that you're using your gifts and your talents to make a difference in the world and minister to others. And she just wants to know, have you always wanted to write and paint, or did you see yourself in a different vocation at first?
I think it's always been a part of who I am. I've always been a creative, emotional empath, caring. That's always been sort of how I'm wired. And so I work as a Christian educator. I work with children through adults. I'm in charge of all Christian formation here at Palmer for that age group. And so, yeah, it's always been something I'm interested in. And I don't know where that comes from. I think, I remember as a child, I used to just read National Geographic magazines. My grandmother had them, and I remember we didn't have a lot of money, and that's how we got to travel, is through National Geographic magazine, and I loved it. And I used to read Reader's Digest. My grandmother had that, and so it taught me I just love the energy and the stories and photos and all of that. So, yeah.
Well, Roger, I don't see anyone else with their hand raised, but Judy just left a nice comment. I'm going to let you go now, but Judy left a nice comment, and she just relates when an artist came to an art class that she was leading and told the children that he painted faces. And he said, do you know, children, that every face is beautiful? There are no ugly faces. And he had them look at the child next to them and find the best thing about their face. It was an aha moment for the children, their teachers, and me. Yeah,
that's beautiful. And that's what I've discovered as well. So,
yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Oh, well, it was just a joy to have you, Roger. And I'm going to recommend to our church library. We have a lovely children's library in our church, and we just need all your books on our shelves.
Thank you. Gosh, thank you. Well, I appreciate it. I'm off to help with another church service. And
all right. Well,
it's good to see everybody.
Thank you so much for your time, and blessings on your writing.
And thank you so much, Glenys. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.